Hello and welcome to Unleashed. I'm your host, Will Bachman, and I'm delighted to be here today with Dina David, who is the facilitator for the Umbrex and the Veritux Mastermind groups, which are starting up soon. Dina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited we're doing this today.
All right, and I'll say, for those listeners who are members of Umbrex or Veritux, applications are due August 15th. And for those listeners who are not yet members, if you are independent consultants and this sounds something that is interesting to you, you should reach out to sign up and join the community so you can get access to this opportunity. So, Dina, let's go through the program. So first of all, just the basics. What are mastermind groups with Umbrex or Veritux?
Yeah, so I mean, most folks are aware, but the mastermind groups are a peered structured program. Our mastermind groups are running that magic middle, 7 to 9 people, ideally 8 people. It's over a 10-month period. So we'll be kicking off in September. We'll be wrapping up in June of 2026. Folks are meeting monthly. We have a reoccurrence. We have a cadence. So we'll be meeting monthly for 1-hour sessions. It is all virtual and online. And then, of course, in between sessions, there's a few things that we'll be infusing in, which we'll be talking about shortly as well.
Great. What happens during the typical monthly meeting? We can get into the details, but what is the basic agenda?
Yeah, at a high level, what you can expect for every session is we start off with an introduction, a quick intro on a personal front of how we're doing, because this is human connection and relationships we are building. And we also do a quick update on our goals. You'll be setting goals at the onset of the program. So then we just do a quick check-in on goals. Did we do it? Did we not? Did the goalpost move? Everyone's looking for that added piece of accountability. And so that's that introduction piece. Then we really spend the majority of the session, 40 to 45 minutes into a deep dive into the topic. Topics are shortlisted at the onset of the program. And of course, as things move and come up, but we're all aware of the topics. There'll be a few prompt questions or some prep to think about so we can really dive deep into the session topic and really share practical, tactical ideas, best practices, lessons learned. And so really that 45 minutes is focusing in at the topic of hand. And then we wrap up at the end. We do a closing, check out what did we learn from today and what are we going to do in the next month as a result of this conversation. So there's nice bookends, and then there's a nice way for us to really deep dive. And every session is formatted differently. So in terms of the format, we might have a breakout group, we might have a warm seat, we might have a guest speaker, we might have a show and tell, and all of that varies depending on the session in the group.
Great. I understand one of the categories. Let's go through some categories or specific topics that you might cover. I understand one topic that you covered last year was collateral. Give us some examples of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the thing. Most of us have those foundational pieces set. And if we don't, or even if we do, we want feedback. And so some examples are, we looked at folks' LinkedIn, right? And how Umbrex has many resources, but one of them is how to really optimize your LinkedIn profile. And there's a really intensive guide to support us. So we went through that guide and, we did a cross check and we supported the consultants with ensuring they have the banner photo right, the head shot. What is that headline? Can it be stronger? How can it be more impactful? The about section, even the experience section. And this is real-time feedback from peers that want to see you succeed. And these are unbiased folks. And so we really support you in making sure that your LinkedIn profile is matching with where your business is at and the direction you want to grow in. And so, that last example is how do you write a story, write-ups to tell a story with a situation? What did you do and what was the impact? And so it's very tactical and allows people to really get a good, quick grasp on who you are.
Yeah. Sometimes we will write our experience section as if it was a job description, just saying this was the duties of responsibilities of that job, as opposed to talking about, like you said, a real story. What was the situation when I was in this role? What did I personally do? And what was the impact from that? Making those little micro stories makes it much more interesting to read and compelling. Talk about websites and how people got feedback on their websites.
Absolutely. So the one thing I have to say is that there are people that come in that, might have already referrals or people that they work with previously. And so they get into client work. And one of the things they say is, I haven't done the website yet, but it's on the list. So on one hand, I have so many stories of people that got that momentum and motivation from others in the group and actually got the website launched and going. And we've celebrated all those wins. But in addition to folks that already have a website, an example is we do a deep dive as well to look at it and to, again, to give you feedback. And so some examples are listed here, but maybe you had a photo that underlay the text and it's hard to read that, right? The menus are confusing. It's not as clean. The core positioning statement might be vague or not even there. Contact us page is missing. The services offered a little bit in the gray area. It's unclear. What segment of clients people serve, or for example, if there's no case studies or testimonies, right? Just the high level visuals. So you get good feedback on all these things, again, just to make your website a lot stronger.
Yeah, it's often hard to see when you did it yourself, and getting some peer feedback can be so helpful.
Absolutely.
What about firm overview documents?
Yeah, and I think about even some of the early stage, but even some of the business development groups and even the boutique group where we just got to give them honest feedback. Maybe they hadn't looked at that overview document in a long time, but it's supporting you to make things more clear. And that's really some of the examples here. You know, sometimes people forget to actually pull out the deliverables and those testimonies, right? Obviously sanitized, but people forget to show their work because they're always moving on to the next and then providing those case studies. So these are some examples of how we supported people to make sure that's cleaned up and, you know, as up to date as possible.
Okay, next big category would be business development. I know that that's often, people want to cover that in these mastermind groups. Give us some examples of specific topics within business development.
Yeah, and I have to say these topics aren't even accurately covering all the nuances and the micro topics we get into within that big bucket of business development. But for those that aren't familiar with David Fields, we love his work. He does a lot of work in collaboration or with Umbrex, but he talks about that fishing line. And so just even for seasoned boutique consultants, when I ask, give me your fishing line and what do you do? Or if I just say, what do you do? Sometimes we get a whole summary and a statement and we forget. And people like to use all the up-to-date jargon and the words, but we forget. And so we help folks get clear on that core positioning statement. What is that fishing line? Who do you serve and what problem do you serve? And being able to say that with confidence so people can remember you and you have that impact. We talked about different comprehensive business development processes. Many times we've heard we work in the business, but we don't do enough on the business. And nobody wants that pipeline to be non-existent. So we talk about what are those strategies and the processes that you can implement weekly and monthly. So again, you can keep that funnel growing. A CRM system. People got a lot of advice from other people in the group. We had a few people that were really experts in many different CRMs that have vetted it out. This is part of what they do for their consulting business. HubSpot has been one that has received a lot of positive feedback. So many consultants who in this past cohort have literally got their CRMs up and running, are so thankful for it. Their business development now has the process and everything else is in one place. As well, people I find are always looking for ideas of like, what's working with warm outreach, cold outreach? How do I do this? Is there something you're saying that are getting people to respond back to my LinkedIn messages or to emails? And so we talk about these different strategies. And I will say there's not a one size fits all. There's not like one magic formula, but in hearing many different people's ways of doing strategies, we are learning some shortcuts and the things that are working in this day and age with everyone being very busy. So we talk about that. And then again, just sharing specific examples, not just saying, hey, I wrote a one sentence email, but people sharing these templates and these examples has really helped all of us. And then again, LinkedIn messages, outreach, we all feel like we're getting bombarded. So how to stick out in the crowd and many more things around business development, but those are some examples.
Let's talk about pricing. How did that come up in the mastermind groups?
Yeah, it came up many times as well. And I think a lot of it has to do with mindset and this acceptance that many of us are undervaluing our services and the value we bring forth. And so in different conversations, what has come up is the confidence. Like, right, I didn't look at it from that perspective. I now have confidence on raising prices. Many groups shared examples of this tier-based approach pricing, which is bringing them closer to the value base. So how to structure it, bronze, silver, gold options, and there's different ways to word it. We had one person who talked about entry level, targeted, or premium pricing. So we really get to learn best practices from each other. And then, of course, some strategies talked about how to price when you're working with maybe a startup, how to do retainer based, and the list goes on.
How about negotiations or other types of handling client situations?
Yeah, I mean, things come up on a day to day, and usually we're dealing with things on our own. So just in, how to approach an upcoming client negotiation, how to show the value add. I remember an example of somebody who was going into a meeting and he had a sense that the client was probably wanting to go back to hourly or monthly pricing, and he wanted to keep the retainer base. And so how does he approach that? What were some things he might have not been thinking about in the group? Responded to his email and gave some real-time advice. This happens to many consultants again, but what about when scope creep comes up, right? How do we handle that? There were many consultants who were dealing, we just think about the year of 2025, a lot of changes at the leadership level. How do I deal with the politics of org changes? How do I deal with my main contact now not being here and, just things not being healthy at that level? And then I think I already said this last beat, but again, how do you deal when your main client leaves and how do you manage those relationships? So a lot of behind the scenes on just how to manage and cultivate great ongoing working relationships with clients.
What about just internal operations of your practice, infrastructure and stuff like insurance or invoicing or just the kind of internal operations?
Yeah. And what I would say about these pieces is sometimes we just need somebody to tell us, hey, I'm doing this, go check it out. Nobody wants to be looking around for or shopping around for insurance companies. You could be doing so much more with that time. And so I love these last couple examples that we're sharing because it really is around operations and infrastructure running the business. And there's so many tools and workflows, whether it be CRM, whether it be like, hey, I found this vendor, they're amazing. Here's the referral, here's the name, go follow up with them. Health insurance, invoicing tools, how to collect on invoices when maybe someone's running late. So a lot of just helping you operationalize and do things better and faster.
Cool. And what about scaling up for those firms that were already well established as an independent and they're now scaling up? Talk about some of those topics.
Yeah, that journey is always incredible. People start as a solopreneur doing their thing, solo practitioner, and then eventually like things are going well and they need to grow. And hopefully along that journey, people are building networks and connections and knowing who can jump in where and if people are open to that. But, it is a journey. And a lot of people will say, I love the work that I do, but doing the hiring and managing the subcontractors and getting those agreements in place. And when do I need to start thinking about hiring? And so why not? Let's talk about this with others that have done this, that have best practices to make your valley shorter. And so these are, again, some of the things that we discuss and talk about. I definitely know he was actually at the information session and he did share this on the info session. So for those that haven't been able to check that out, I'm sure we can link that out or that's on our Umbrex events page. But he talked about being at a pivotal point where he wanted to actually hire full-time staff and essentially with the group debrief was convinced, don't do it yet, just given the times. And so he was like, if I didn't get those insights from, again, people who have done this ahead of me, I would have made some mistakes that would have cost me. And so those are some really important things as you're scaling and growing.
And then, so just to kind of recap some of the specific benefits that you've seen members get from these groups.
Yeah, this list is just a few examples, but new projects, client referrals, many people that talk in between the monthly sessions, get to know each other's businesses way more, and then go into proposals together. Speaking opportunities, it might be internal or even external. A lot of people that are like, I have raised fees successfully with more confidence. The update on collateral, as we talked about earlier. Accountability. Many people are in their, again, solo practices and they want that peer-based accountability. They want that added motivation. And so, one example here is many people, as I already noted, that launch their websites and just feeling like they know they're meeting somebody monthly. And so they're going to hold themselves accountable to do the things they say they're going to do versus just letting things slide or keep pushing it out. And it goes without saying, but the number one thing is genuine relationships. And not just relationships, but genuine relationships. We've had people that have now taken done this program and they've done it already for 3 times and coming back for a 4th time. And one of the big things they'll say is that the relationships that you build will surpass anything else you get out. But these are lifetime relationships. These are people now I can text in a heartbeat and a message when I'm working through something or just need an idea or anything I need. And so I think seeing the genuine relationships that come, the banter, the joking, and getting to know people on a person basis is invaluable amongst all the other benefits you'll get for your business as well.
Just take a minute and tell us what typically happens between these monthly sessions.
Yeah, so in between the monthly sessions, once the live session is done, within 48 hours, you'll receive the recording. You will receive a really well done meeting summary recap. We also send additional resources, whether it be Umbrex or other additional resources that we share or the group has shared. And then essentially speaking, you'll be assigned an accountability buddy from your group, and that will be somebody you will be checking in within the month of the next live session, where you get to just talk to each other, bounce off ideas, support each other, let each other know how you're working towards your goals. And so and then in between sessions, you're also working towards your goals and the things you said you're going to do. And then before we know it, the month is up and we're meeting again into the next month as well.
Fantastic. So I'll mention again that applications are due on August 15th to join the 2025 to 2026 cohort. If you are a member of Umbrex or Veritux, you will have already received a couple emails from me about the program with links to fill out the application. And those links also include all of the details about the dates and so forth. If you can't find that email and you're a member of the community, send me an email, Will Bachman an email. And we look forward to welcoming folks in the upcoming cohort. And Dina, who was the facilitator last year, we're delighted that you are returning again for this year's cohorts. You did an amazing job last year. And so thank you for joining today and telling us a bit about the program.
Oh my God, absolutely. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to it.